Be smart, dummy, dummy, be smart. He said that fool, you weren't cool. He took a book to your school. Be smart, dummy, dummy, be smart. Don't get shocked if you get mocked. It's what you find when you use your mind. Don't you sweat it, look 'em in the eye. Don't regret it, hold your head high. Be smart, dummy, dummy, be smart. Try to show some tenderness, even when they're playing chess. You think it's dumb to be smart, but that's the way you make art. So be smart, dummy, dummy, be smart. Use your brain, that's a start. It's okay to be smart. Don't you think that you are cool? Sorry, dummy, the joke's on you.
Hi, welcome to Change Your Mind. I'm James E., and I live in the divided states of America. How do we become united again? United doesn't mean uniform. Unity is not uniformity. We don't have to dress alike. We don't have to look alike. We don't have to sound alike. Sometimes we don't think alike. And we try to change other people's minds. But we don't think about changing our own. We aren't taught how to. So this show is dedicated to changing your mind, and in this case, my mind. So I have a topic today. I want to talk about what's going on in Israel and Gaza right now. Obviously, it's a horrible, tragic situation. And I think the only solution is a two-state solution. We almost had it after Camp David, but Arafat refused it. But I think it's still possible. But I don't think Netanyahu, the premier of Israel, is going to be an asset in that. I think they need to change the government of Israel. I think the hard right in Israel government, which is part of the coalition government, it's not going to be possible if they are the leaders. And I think you have to get rid of Hamas. Hamas cannot be governing. There hasn't been an election since 2005, 2006 in Gaza. And the Hamas that got elected then, they were presenting themselves as moderates. Well, they're not moderates. They're dedicated to the destruction of Israel. We have to have a different governance if there's going to be a chance for a two-state solution. But I brought a guest on to change my mind because I know I don't understand all the nuances of the situation. Sasha Starr, I brought you on today to help me understand the situation better. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. My great pleasure.
And Sasha, do you think a two-state solution is possible at this stage of the game?
At this stage, obviously not. Whether it's possible in the near future or distant future, I would say yes, it's possible. What is the percentage of that? I wouldn't put large numbers on the percentage. I would say it's between 1 and 1.5%. That's probably
Wow.
a very, very optimistic number.
Oh,
Uh, I'll tell you why. Because you see, if you want to have two-state solution, there is already one state for 75 years, which is state of Israel.
yes.
So if the other party, let's call them Palestinians, although they're not, but let's call them for a second Palestinians, they want just as well to have their own state. So if they would have their own state and Israel has its own state, here is your two-state solution. It's quite simple. It's like, if you know a little bit of arithmetic, is 1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah.
If there is one and there is another one, you're looking around and where is another one? Okay, bring it over. Okay, give me another one. It's not there. Nobody wants their solution. They want actually one state solution, and it's not Israel.
Yes.
It's a Palestinian state where Israel doesn't exist. It's thrown to the sea. So therefore, there is a one state solution, which is a Palestinian state, and no Israel on a map. Now, to try to make that complicated subject, which it is, a little bit simpler, you see, there are a few things that somehow we have to agree, if not with all of this, but at least with some of it. Because if we disagree with every point, then it's very difficult to make any progress, right? And Here's what I was trying to bring up. There is list of few things that I would like to go over one by one. For example, if we will start with the premises that Jews lived in the land of Israel before the Arabs and before the Zionist movement was born. Would that be agreeable? Probably yes, because if you go to not even the Bible or any of this stuff, but even to the history of the world, I'm talking about well-known recorded history. Let's see if you're talking about Alexander the Great and his battles. Nobody will argue that, oh, you have to prove that Alexander the Great actually existed and his battles were
Right.
real and so on. Most of reasonable people agree that that's true. So once he won his first battle against Persians, he wanted immediately from there to go to the Egypt, and he wanted to defeat Egypt. And on the way to get to Egypt from Persian country, he had to go on the Mediterranean Sea, and he had to go through Judea and where today's Israel is. Now, he was going, and on the way to Egypt, he visited actually the king of Judea. And he had a very high opinion of King of Judea and its country. And King of Judea also recognized that Alexander the Great was in fact a divine person, and so on. And then he continued his way to Egypt through Gaza. And at that time, Gaza was also part of Israel, and there were thriving Jewish community there. And then finally, he reached Egypt, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Okay. Second premises, what I would like to tell you
Well, I can
is
go one better.
okay.
The Assyrians, which were before Alexander the Great, conquered that area, conquered the Israeli state, and the Babylonians before Alexander also did.
We,
And
yeah, yeah,
there's no question that the Jews were there.
yeah, but remember that neither Babylonians nor Assyrians were Arabs. Okay.
Right.
Okay, we are going there.
Okay.
Most Arabs in the land of Israel are descendants of Arab immigrants in the new era. Jews lived in the countries called nowadays Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria well before the Arabs. Jews lived in Iraq since Babylonian times until they were expelled in the 1950s. Arabs lived in the Arabian Peninsula. The Babylonians were not Arabs. Jews lived in Egypt before the Arabs. The ancient Egyptians were not Arabs. Even during later times, the Greek rule of Egypt and the Roman rule of Egypt, there were no Arabs.
Well, they
Period.
were Semites, weren't they? The Arabs are
Well,
Semites.
wait a sec, but I'm saying that the under the Greek rule of Egypt and the Roman rule of Egypt, there were no Arabs. The ancient population of Egypt were no Arabs at all. It's a completely different people. And today, descendants of these people are only a small tribe of Coptic people in
Ah,
Egypt.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but they're not Arabs, and they never were Arabs. Jews lived there at the time of Greek rule and Roman rule. And
Yes.
Jews lived in the land of Israel before the Arabs and during all the Muslim occupation of the land. When the Zionist movement was born, it developed the land and many people immigrated to it, both Jews and Arabs. The Arabs developed the false narrative that they lived in the land forever. Jews were called Palestinians. Remember, I had investigation about the Palestinian chess team on the World Olympiads in the 30s. The
Mhm.
last one was in Argentina in 1939. So it was a team of Palestinian players, and all the players of the team, they were all Jews. Not a single Arab.
Uh-huh.
The Palestinian people is an invention born in the 1960s with the help of the KGB. Okay, there are just a little bit of information. So, based on that, the Arabs were never the indigenous people the Jews were. It's time to end the Arab occupation and dismantle the Arab settlements. Okay, so, but we are now moving into a phenomenon of the fact that interesting. I actually asked a question on one of the programs on Pod TV. I asked people a question. Uh, US, if you remember 30s, you remember this ship from Germany full of the Jews who were trying to escape the
Yes.
fascist Germany,
Yes.
and US wouldn't even allow them
Yes.
to board. They
Crying
all went
shame.
back to Europe, and they were all killed in German concentration camps.
Yes.
So from that point on, with this obviously anti-Semitic treatment of the Jews who were trying to escape the murderous regime in Germany, since when U.S. became such a staunch the supporter of Israel? How? Why? What's the reasons? How that happened? I know the answers, but no one on the panel of Pod TV could answer this question. They just don't care. They don't know. So if something you don't know, so you ask a question. So
Right.
tell us how that happened. No one even wanted to know.
Well, I do.
Well, it's very interesting. Yes, it started with actually Truman, who was
Yes.
a deeply religious man, and he was supporting from the day one Israel. It changes somewhat with Eisenhower. He didn't care about Israel one way or another, and it was going on. Kennedy was too busy with many other stuff, and also he didn't stay in office long enough
Right.
for obvious reasons. And then we had Lyndon Johnson, and then comes Nixon. That's very interesting, especially with this Kissinger, the great man who just passed away.
Passed away. Yes.
Is
100 years old. Yeah.
100 years old, who owns a famous saying that the it was a time when Russian Jews or Soviet Jews were not allowed to immigrate out of Soviet Union.
Right.
And Kissinger said to that effect that, you know what, if all of them will be gassed, it's not United States problem. Maybe it's a humanitarian problem, but it's not United States. That's kind of a devious man Kissinger was. If it wouldn't be for Kissinger, the Soviet Union would dissolve 20 years earlier than it
Wow.
did. Yeah, Kissinger prolonged the life of the Soviet Union for about 20 years, if not more. But anyway, Nixon, they had, you see, what's happened after 6 Days War in 1967.
Yes.
The United States figured out that, in fact, Israel is becoming hegemon in that region of the world. They are the strongest, and maybe it pays to support them. And support
And
started
the
flowing.
Soviet Union was on the other side. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
Soviet Union was always on the other side, but again, Soviet Union was always on the other side.
Yes.
But United States was not on the Jewish side. In fact, if you remember, there was a war in 1956 when Egypt was trying to nationalize the Suez Channel.
Yes.
There was a war, France, England, and Israel against Egypt and whoever supported Egypt. Of course, the Soviets were on the Egypt side. And United States war against Israel and England and France, believe it or not. They wanted them to stop the war. So the war stopped. essentially. But after the Six Days War in 1967, U.S. now become open supporter of Israel. And it started go deeper and deeper. And you know that U.S. helped a lot during the Yom Kippur War in 1973. And if you will look at the real help from U.S. to Israel, it exceeds U.S. help to other countries in that region. Not by much, but still exceeds. Israel number one, Egypt probably number two, and so on. However, in later years, there is no financial help from US to Israel, only military help, which is still very viable, but no financial help. For some reason, the money is no longer. And in fact, Israel doesn't need US financial help at all. They are tremendously strong country with a great economics and great military industries, sciences and technologies, just name it, startups. So in this situation is that now we are living a very interesting time. Remember when October 7th happened,
Yes.
and United States and Joe Biden, they immediately put everything on side of Israel, and they send this carriers and just name it. However, when things started to develop, and there was an outcry all over the world against Palestinians being killed and so on, and there are several reasons to that movement. Number one is social media, which never happened before, like whether it's for 1973, there was
Sure.
none, and later years. So social media is a great new warfare is in terms that normally journalism is that well qualified journalists, by checking the facts,
Yes.
they formulating for the people some kind of a almost scientifically proven opinion about certain things. There could be still a more or two or three different
Sure.
points of view, but they're still based on facts,
Yes.
verified facts.
Now we have alternative facts that are amplified by social media.
Absolutely. So therefore, now any idiot becoming a carrier of some kind of a alternative theory, alternative history, and most of the people, they don't create their own content. They just post and parapost, post, parapost, click, 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 click. So one idiot sends his information, unverified rumors, just anything. He sent it to his, say, 25, 30 followers. Each of them is, some people don't even read it. They just click their buttons, and each of them sent to his own
Yes,
25
we're both in agreed that this is happening.
and it's a geometrical progression, and all of a sudden you see a phenomenon. People who don't even understand who are the Palestinians, where are these people from, where they live, what's the problem there, so they don't care. Because, Jim, I may sound not politically correct, but let's assume that most of the people in this world are morons and educated idiots. And some of them are useful idiots, but a lot of them are not even useful idiots. And they're doing the job for which they're not even being paid. At least if you're paid, okay, you can be an idiot more, but at least you made some money.
This is not the
You
official
don't even
position.
make any money.
It's not the
Come-
official position of Pod TV, but Sasha is expressing his own opinion.
Yeah. Everything what I'm saying is my own opinion. 100%. Nobody else is not even my wife who shares this
Yes.
opinion. It's my own opinion. I own it 100%. And I will not get anyone to touch my own opinion.
Yes, of course, you have every right to express it. Yes.
Yeah. And so this is a phenomenon which falls on the anti-Semitism around the world, which is still alive. It didn't disappear. It was just politically incorrect, would
Oh
say.
boy, howdy, is that true? And there's actually an increase in anti-Semitic attacks in the United States and other places. And this, I want to go back to your history lesson and then address that. because Israel was created as a state in 1948, and the international community embraced that. And then in 1967 you had that war, and Israel occupied some territory, but they through compromise they gave some of it back to Egypt. And so the two-state solution that I hold on to is giving some of it back. Um, say maybe the Gaza Strip, but um, so that's my thinking. And you give it less than a 1.5% chance of happening. Okay, you're depressing me. But when we go back to the 1948, this is what I can't stand it when I hear this, from the river to the sea. They are saying go dissolve Israel. Go back to pre-1948. There's no Israel. And in 1948 is when Israel was established. So I take it as a premise that the Israel state exists and has every right to exist. And so when I hear those things, I think they don't understand the history of it. From the river to the sea means do away with Israel. And that's the purpose of Hamas and Hezbollah. And so we have to understand this if we're going to make any sense of this. But I think that right now what we're faced with is people that are uninformed and regurgitating, as you're saying, click, 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 these uh, Hamas statements from the river to the sea and those types of things. It's very depressing to see this, because what we want is a two-state solution where Israel has its borders of 1948, and through conquering lands around it, perhaps it's a negotiation thing that you do. Do they hold on to how much of the West Bank, the entire West Bank? Who knows? Gaza, you give that part up. There has to be a solution. There has to be a way that people that are not hate-filled can sit down and figure out. And I think after Camp David, they were there. Arafat refused it. So can't we just have people that want the best and end the suffering of Palestinian Jews and come to some sort of reasonable compromise? Is that so hard to do? You think it's impossible?
Uh, well, some things are possible and some things are not.
And it's
Let's
improbable, though, in your view.
probable, yeah, okay. Um, let's try to think about something, how to attack this problem. Let's see if you feel it would be great to fly to the Jupiter
Mhm.
and back. Why not? Why not? So if you will go to, say, venture capitalist and you say, okay, you have a great idea to fly to Jupiter and back, and it will be great. Fantastic. Yes, we would like to help you, Jim. Show us a business plan. Okay,
Mhm.
what you'll do on a day one,
Mhm.
day 5, day 25,
Mhm.
day 68, or so on, how you will develop it, or so on. And let's say you will start working on this business plan and you will realize at certain point on day 68 or 275, you will realize that with the existing technology, that is unachievable. You simply don't have a mechanism how to bring people from the Earth to Jupiter in a quantitative time, so there will be still possibility for them not only reach Jupiter but also to fly back. And also we don't understand what Jupiter really consists of, whether it's possible
Right,
even
right,
to
right, right.
land
But
there or so on. It's like an old story when Brezhnev, former leader of the Soviet Union, he came up with the idea to fly to the sun. So one of his advisors said that Leonid Ilyich, the sun is so hot, we will all burn there.
it's a
He
one-way
says,
trip.
we will fly at night.
I love it.
So this is exactly the same. You can fly to Jupiter, you can try at night, or maybe in the evening or
Are
early
you
morning.
are you saying though that because of the hostilities and the ancient quality of the hostilities?
No, no, I would come back to the old and tried business plan. So you want to have two-state solution. So one state you already have. You don't have to work really hard on one state. It's a second state where you don't have it, but you would like to have it. Please show me a business plan. What you're gonna do on day one, day two, day five, day 76, day 215, and so
Okay.
on and on. How you will go instead of saying let's have two-state solution? Let's fly to Jupiter instead.
But
No.
in Camp David, we had it. We had that business plan.
Remind me, how do you understand Camp David's plan of two states? Remind
Well,
me, what is it?
my recollection of it was the Israel and some of the lands that have been settled would be retained by Israel, and then like the Gaza Strip, some areas of the West Bank would be Arab. That was
Um,
that was
Ju-
the what was carved out in
okay,
my memory may be failing me here because it was a
let's
while
go
ago.
a little bit backward. Let's go to 1948.
Okay.
The day after the Israel was established, there was a war. The five Arab countries attacked Israel, and it was existential war for Israel, and
Yes.
Israel was able to win this war.
Yes.
Now, what's happened is that the land, West Bank and Gaza Strip, which were supposed to be lands where Palestinians would organize their own entity, they were grabbed by Jordan, the West Bank. They said this from now on, it's a country of Jordan.
I see what you're
And
saying.
Egypt took Gaza and say,
Yes.
from now on, it's a country of Egypt. So Israel never occupied this land, whether it's West Bank or Gaza. It was occupied by France from Egypt and
Yes.
from Jordan. Okay.
Yes.
So here comes the 6 Days War. In 6 Day War, Israel uh, actually just devastated all these Arab armies and
Absolutely.
took West Bank and Gaza and Sinai Peninsula.
Yes.
It grabbed everything, and in my opinion, it should have kept all by now. It should have kept it, and not only. It was old story. I remember there was a comedian by the name Jackie Mason.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
He's a fantastic comedian, and one of his jokes was that there were negotiations between Palestinians and Israel, and so they asked Shamir, so he should give this land to Palestinians. He said, "I can't," and they asked him why. Because it's in my wife's name. I can't do it. Period. How
But
can you do it?
Jackie Mason's career got he got in trouble with Ed Sullivan. Do you remember that?
Ah, yes, yes, yes. Actually, actually, one of his best jokes I love, where he's saying that every day when he has a drink of a glass of wine, and he always pray for the health of uh, George Bush Senior, at that time president,
Yes.
and ask him why. Because I will always pray for his health, because he's protecting us from Dan
Dan
Quayle.
Quayle. I have
Uh,
friends who say the same about Joe Biden right now.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you. Yeah, so coming now to the two-state solution is that actually, let me finish my thoughts about this relationship between U.S. and Israel. Is that Biden, as I said before, he started supporting Israel and so on, and then with all the social propaganda, anti-Semitism around the world, including the United States and everything else, a few other factors are maybe not so significant. Biden realized one very interesting thing: the longer this war will go on, the more and more people will be um, against him on the election time, and he will lose election
By
just because
supporting
of
Israel.
this Palestinian issue,
Right.
Israel-Palestinian issue. So now United States completely changing its approach to this problem. Now they want Israel to stop any
Ceasefire. Yeah.
ceasefire. Right now, ceasefire is very natural because they are releasing 10 hostages a day.
Yes.
Okay, you can go on, but how many hostages? Okay, so you can go on for another few days, for a week, maybe 2 weeks.
Right.
That's about it. And then what? And here is very interesting calculation on the Israeli government. If they believe that Biden will win election, there is no reason to fight Biden's opinion and what he's asked Israel to do. However, if they believe that Republicans will win next election, doesn't matter Trump or anybody else, then whatever is Biden saying right now, they can dismiss it, completely ignore it. And that will be in next few days. It will be very, very interesting what Israel is going to do.
Very interesting observation.
Yeah, and remember that public opinion in Israel, 99.999% is to continue and finish the job.
Yes.
Because number one, forget about Biden or anybody else. Israel, Israeli government must protect Israelis. And I'll tell you why the October 7th Palestinian or Hamas action was so. By the way, don't try to say that okay, here is Hamas, here is the Palestinians. I don't buy it because a lot of people who invaded Israeli kibbutzim, they were Palestinians, not Hamas. They were Palestinians. They were also members from other militant groups in Gaza. It's not just Hamas is there. There are several well-noted, well-known groups. Now, the Palestinians, they were capturing and bringing back hostages. And a lot of hostages are in the Palestinians' families, not in Hamas, in Palestinians' families, in some other military organizations, and they were capturing Israeli people or so on. They were dancing on the streets of Gaza when they were bringing this poor 82 years old women
I
who
know.
went through Holocaust
It was horrible.
survivors. They were dancing and singing and they were joyful. And there are reports that 95% of Palestinians obviously support Hamas and so on. So I wouldn't divide that.
Well, there are always idiots. There are always morons. and,
Sure, sure.
and,
So
uh,
Palestinians are not different from
uh,
other nations.
but
There's
I
something
think
common.
the one thing that Netanyahu said that I really believe with is why should he try to negotiate with the 1% of people who want Israel's destruction, and why doesn't he negotiate with say the Saudis who might be able to reach some sort of intelligent solution, some compromise that might be lasting. And so, I still think Netanyahu. Let me ask you whether you agree that Netanyahu, sorry, must be replaced. Israel has to move on from.
I think it's going to happen 100% because
Okay,
obviously they screwed up on October 7th. I would be surprised if he and maybe a few others will go to jail as a result of the investigation, which will happen as soon as the war will be over.
right.
But
Which is one reason he wants the chaos to continue.
yeah, he wants to continue that. But as I said, 99% plus of Israeli population,
Yeah.
they want the same thing because of the
Yes, I
Hamas.
understand. Yeah, I understand. Now, there are countries like Iran who are obviously supporting, the Hamas, Hezbollah. In but I think other parts of the Arab world want to see some sort of resolution. Qatar has been part of the negotiations for peace, for ceasefire at least. Um, so I think that there are Arab countries, and I think what's incumbent upon these Arab countries is to denounce Hamas, denounce Hezbollah, and
Well,
that state
yeah, and
has a right to exist.
And Jim, that's what they are doing. And privately, I've heard that many Arab countries are so disgusted with what Hamas did on October 7th.
Yes,
They don't want to even hear that word. They don't want to even know who they are or so on. But you see, the idea of the Trump's plan to have a peaceful relationship between Israel and many Arab countries, and now the Saudi Arabia was supposed to be next.
yeah,
And this is, I believe, one of the reasons why Hamas attacked
I
Israel.
agree.
Yeah, to derail
Yes,
this channel. And since that happened, I think it will be reestablished sooner or later. Probably not soon, not in two,
probably
three
not.
weeks, but maybe
Right.
in 2, 3 months. Very
Mm.
possible. Now, nobody denies Israel a right to defeat Hamas. Interestingly enough, is that I asked somebody on the panel for Pod TV. I asked the okay, there is no doubt that Hamas did implement a brilliant operation. The brilliancy of this operation is not 1,400 killed Israelis. It's a byproduct, horrible, but still is. The most important fact was the whole purpose of existence of Israel was to provide security and home to all Jews around the world. So Holocaust would never happen again because
Yes,
Israel would have means to defend its population and so on.
yes,
So they actually defeated that purpose. If little Hamas, but there is also Hezbollah, which is much more powerful organization. There are many
yes,
others from Yemen to where. So
yes,
they basically made a huge dent into as Israeli armors and no longer can insist that they can always defend the Jewish community around the world and even Israel specifically. Now Israel has to repair that dent and actually, mm, if you will go back to history, remember the demise of Rome happened when they couldn't control the German tribes.
right.
If you look at the Gladiator movie or read history books or so
Oh,
on,
yes. Okay.
and that led to demise
There's the
also.
Goths and Goths. Yes. Yeah.
So today, if Israel is very similar situation. If they cannot control the unfriendly population. Sure, if they would have their own state with a reasonable government and they would develop their economy or so on, that would be a different story.
Right.
I understand that. But we are so far away from that
Right.
because the same population, all they want is to liquidate the state of Israel. They want to kill all the Jews. And while that's going on, there will never be a two-state solution. So their mindset has to be completely changed. And it may not happen in this generation of Palestinians. Maybe it's only next generation. But even that is in doubt. If you will take their mathematics lesson in school, okay, Ahmed killed 2 Jews in the morning and 3 Jews in the evening. How many Jews
Good.
Ahmed killed?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have this approach, how you can
Yes.
make a two-state solution possible, right?
Yes.
So unfortunately, we are looking at a very, very difficult situation, and maybe two-state solution, if it's impossible, and the way I see it, at least in our time, it is impossible. Then what other solutions could be
Right.
provided? For example, one solution is to get all the Palestinians, so-called, to countries around when they have same Arab population, same language, same religion, everything is the same. Egypt and Jordan on the other side, they don't want them. No Arab country wants Palestinians. Why? Because they want them to stay where they are and attack Israel once a week, once a month, once a year, once every 5 years. This is the only purpose what they want Palestinians to do. Nothing else. They don't want Palestinians to develop their country or so on. And the head of the Palestinians autonomy, like Hamas or like Fatah,
Hezbollah.
Fatah and others. I know Hezbollah, it's Iranian
Yeah,
proxy. I'm
Fatah, yeah.
talking about this Fatah on the other side.
Yep.
They are making so much money at this present state of war. Remember when Arafat passed away?
Yeah, what
And
he was worth.
nobody wanted to disclose that he's just passed away. Why? Because his wife and relatives are so they were fighting about his $2 billion fortune.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now today's rulers of Gaza, they all live in Qatar,
Yeah.
and their
And
fortunes are
the corruption is part of
$5 billion.
the lack of solution is often traced to follow the money to the corruption and
Absolutely. So
yeah,
when it's happening, and Qatar alone gives them $100 million a year, the Arab, Saudi Arabia, even United States, even Canada and European countries, all they give money to, uh, well, they give it to Palestinians. But
mhm.
Palestinians don't see
And
this.
it's taken from them. Yes.
It's all going
It
to
never
Hamas.
reaches. Yes.
So, if there will be a peace of some kind, do you think that this Hamas leaders they would get the same money? They will have to say goodbye because no country with their right brains, whether it's United States or Qatar or anybody else, will start pouring hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars into Palestine to build something else when there is a Hamas and will grab all this money. It's
Correct.
not going to happen. So
I
what?
agree.
So in fact, Israel, if to believe some commentators on POT TV, they believe that Palestinians there are against Hamas. They really have to accept it because they're scared to be killed or so on. So now Israel, if that's true, I don't think that it's true, but if it is true, and I'm wrong, then Israel is helping Palestinians to become really independent people and to get rid of Hamas. So why Palestinians are so and people who support Palestine around or Palestinians around the world, why they are so much for Palestine and Hamas and against Israel? Only answer is only one: anti-Semitism. People, it's very comfortable to hate Jews around the world. It's a great thing. Then you can justify almost anything. Why you are poor, why your education is a second or third grader, and why you have problems and you don't have a house and you don't have a good job and you don't have this or that or that.
Sadly, I cannot argue what you're
It's
saying.
great.
I
Yeah,
cannot argue with you about that. It's true. The anti-Semitism, specifically targeting Jews, has been historically accurate. And, we have too many examples, and it's a tragic situation. So I am running out of time, but the last thing I want to ask you about is the
yes.
rise of anti-Semitic attacks in the United States, and the right the MAGA hat wearing right of the Republicans in Congress are trying to deny funding to Israel, support for Israel. And we have a ex-president, but while he was president, Trump, when people were chanting, "Jews will not replace us," he was saying, "There's good people on both sides." And so what we have to have, I think, is a strong message from the leader of the United States that this will not stand. And
But,
we must,
but he's scared to lose elections. That's why he's not going to make that statement.
yes. And so maybe a second term, uh, you're a lame duck anyways. You're not running for an election again. Maybe, and maybe I'm just being wishful thinking here.
I agree with you.
Okay, good.
I agree with you, of
All right.
course.
Well,
I
thank you, Sasha, so much for joining me and helping me to understand. And I have changed my mind to this extent. I am more pessimistic about the two-state solution than I was before talking to you. I don't know. I don't want to just throw my hands up in despair. So maybe you could leave me with something to hang my hat on that someday, maybe the next generation, I can live with that. Um, but at some point, when do we see this anti-Semitism becoming uh, an extremist point of view instead of what's becoming too much of a almost a strong minority point of view in this country? Can it change?
Um, I think that people have to learn more history of
Yes.
the world, their country, for example. Even I think I sent to you last video about story of very great successful Jewish families, Goldman Sachs, the Pritzker
Okay.
family from Chicago, and a couple of others. If you would, it's the same thing. For example, if you have two young people and they're working at a gas station and they fill up the car, get a little bit of money. So one is taking the money and goes to spend it on to have a smoke, to have a beer, something else. And another one instead, he's trying to save money as much as possible, and he reads books about the workings of the gas stations and how to maybe buy in next year or two a gas station and how to take a loan in a bank to accomplish that and so on. And 5 years from now, one is still drinking beer and smokes, and another one already has a gas station. And in another couple of years, he will have three gas stations or so on. So again, it's really up there. So if
Yes.
you learn how the Goldman Sachs, how Pritzkers became successful, how do they start, how they amass the wealth, and how they do it. So instead, you wanna say, oh, they're dirty Jews. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
care. Oh, I this and that. This is all in your hands. This is all in your head.
Yes.
I believe in education and I believe in the people's curiosity, and that would defeat anti Semitism. And it was, I think, Winston Churchill. Uh, he said that why there is no anti Semitism, or virtually no anti Semitism in England. And he said to that we don't believe that we are inferior to Jews at anything. That was his answer.
Hmm.
It's the same thing in
No,
America,
no
Europe.
jealousy, no envy. Yes.
No,
Well,
no.
Sasha, thanks again. I will point out one thing. It's consistent with what you're saying. You know, the Eat Foundation supports establishing chess programs in poorer parts of the world. And in Uganda, one of the things we did was we started to build what's called the Divine Chess Academy. And so we got the foundation laid, the walls, but we needed money for the roof. And so he asked me for more money, and I taught him how to take a loan out from the bank. And
Beautiful.
this
Great.
is exactly what you're saying. This you teach the people how to help themselves, and
Exactly.
take it from there.
Jim, thank you for doing great job
Thank
developing
you,
this
thank
skills.
you. I will
My
say
pleasure.
goodbye to you now, Sasha, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
That was Sasha Starr and his perspective on what's going on in the Israeli Arab world conflict going on. To our dismay, as we witness it, and I despair and throw my hands up. Sometimes there's nothing I can do, but you know the answer may be educating people on the history, and stop the hatred, you know, and don't be jealous of someone else who's doing better than you. Feel grateful that you're doing as well as you are, and be happy for them. This is a way to change your mind. Be happy for others, not resentful. So this has been Change Your Mind, and I thank you for watching, and we will be back with another Change Your Mind next week. And every weekend is a new beginning.